Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cheer Guys, presented by Cheer and Dance Battles and sponsored by Coachable, the app that pays coaches for their knowledge and gives athletes access to that knowledge, and also by Playmaker, your complete at-home recovery and performance solution. Make the most of your workout at home. I'm joined today, as usual, by Mr. Chase Brett, my co-host, friend, and all-important cheer knowledge guy. He's been in it a while, haven't you, Chase? Chase, how we doing?
Man, we're doing awesome. We have another episode here today. We're trying to put together these series with special guests, not only to share their knowledge, but to talk about the programs, to talk about how their programs have changed and what their journey has been like, especially in the past couple of years with the pandemic, the advancement in technology, and all the things fun that are happening. So today we have another special guest, long journey, has been a part of elite cheerleading since she was in high school. Has coached at all levels, especially at the collegiate level, super successful coach. I won't tell her whole story. I'll let her tell it. But thanks for coming today, Miss Ryan Martin O'Connor. Thanks for being with us.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and to talk to you.
Absolutely.
We're
Well, I
glad to
know
have
you
you.
have a great story, and so we're going to jump right into it. The quick version, I say the quick version, but take your time, do what you need to do. But tell us how you got started in this. Those of us who come from this same time period know where you came from, but maybe some other people don't know. So start us from the beginning. Let's go from there.
Our time period, I know, right? I feel like
Certain ages.
I'm definitely in a different time period than those I coach. I always joke and say I never had a choice as far as my life in cheerleading. My mom is one of the most successful high school cheerleading coaches there is at Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School here in Lexington, Kentucky. She interviewed for the job at Dunbar when she was pregnant with me. And so I grew up in the gym. I grew up with cheerleaders as my babysitters and watching how much joy the sport of cheerleading brought to my mom. And I wanted to be a part of that. You know, I wanted to be a part of what brought my mom joy. And I had all my babysitters were cheerleaders, everybody I looked up to. I played a lot of different sports actually in high school. Almost thought about quitting cheerleading once or twice. I think when you're burned out, when your mom's your coach and your mom. Yeah. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to play tennis. And so I put a lot of effort into tennis thinking I'd play that in college, but luckily decided to stick with cheerleading. I've had so many great coaches, not only coached by my mom, but coached by the great Salim Habash, Jomo Thompson, had Doug Stidham. I mean, a lot of UK alum, that coached me and laid the foundation, for my high school career. Got to know David McDowell. And after 1 year at UK, connected with him again and transferred to Alabama. After my college career ended, 1 year at UK, 3 years at Alabama. I did do 3 years of Team USA as well as an athlete. So 2 years on the co-ed team and 1 year on the all-girl team, which was really cool to be able to do both. Worked for UCA staff, thought I was going to go to grad school, maybe stick around and coach right away. And then I was like, no, absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with coaching. I saw all the behind the scenes work. Yeah, I was like, no, I watched my mom put in all this hard work. Right. And then I'd be at practice and somebody'd say something about, a choice she made or something. And I'm like, only I can talk about my mom. Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're definitely allowed to do that.
Yeah. But none of you all. And, so I took a job in the varsity office. I was the editor of American Cheerleader magazine when they purchased it from New York and moved it in-house to Memphis. I did that honestly for only 9 months. I quickly realized sitting behind a desk was not my thing. And I missed relationships. I missed, I missed working hands-on with athletes and getting to know them. I mean, my coaches, specifically David and Brian at Alabama, I feel like they really helped me with some make me into the adult I am. And I wanted to be that person. High school was great, but college age and college cheerleading was what I wanted to do. And so luckily UAB opened up, familiar with the state of Alabama, moved to Birmingham before I got the job, which I do not recommend. And I always tell my students that I'm like, please do not move somewhere for a job until you have it. But that did work out for me in that case. So thank you, God.
You're just confident in the manifestation of getting that job.
I was like, I just got to get there, and then I'll just keep pestering them until they hire me.
There you go.
It did work. It did work. So I got to coach at UAB, which was amazing. Small co-ed team. competed at UCA Nationals there, worked with Vestavia Hills High School while I was in Birmingham. And then Ole Miss was the next step. I thought I might stay in Birmingham for a lot longer. I really liked Birmingham. I met my husband there. So UAB will always be a very special place for me. But then, the opportunity to coach in the SEC and just couldn't turn it down.
Right.
And so then took the jump to Ole Miss, and then again had babies and wanted to move closer to home. Still get to stay in the SEC, and now just be at the best program there is in college cheerleading,
And
the greatest
program
tradition.
wasn't bad.
So,
The program was
No.
pretty good.
oh yeah, no, the program was great.
It
And
made
I
it better.
look,
That was good.
thank you. I learned a lot about myself and learned a lot about coaching and, working with athletes that think like me and athletes that don't think like me. And I think that's, what we all have to figure out as coaches. I can't tell you how many times me and my, co-coaches are like, well, man, they don't think, they're not doing that, or I would do this. And we're like, okay,
They're not us.
they're not all us, and
Yeah,
not that we're perfect, but just, we don't think
Well,
like all of our
The
athletes.
mentality, right? We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell, I guess. I hope that was brief. I've hopped around maybe a little more than I planned on. But
good.
I'm so happy to be back in Lexington, where I'm from. Bought a house half a mile from my mom. Never thought I would do that, because after all of the close proximity in high school, I was like, I'm getting out of here. But then you have
that's
kids
gotta
and things
that's
change.
got to definitely be a full circle trip back to where you were in high school, and then now being the coach at UK. That's awesome.
It
Yeah.
is. It really is. It's so great. I understand what this team and what this program means to not just cheerleaders, but people who don't know anything about cheerleading, right? Like just the fan
Right.
base here. And I think that's really important too. And sometimes people lose sight of that. And, that's a really big part of our job, not just to be cheerleaders, but to really be involved in the community and to represent our university.
Absolutely. And we had we've had a podcast with Ben Schreiber and with Krista Grizzle Sanford, and they all said the same thing. It's
Yeah.
not all about talent. It's about, making sure that we're doing our job as ambassadors for the school. So
And
that's great.
relationships.
Your dream job opened back
Relationships is
up. You were in the right place, right time. Your feet was on the ground. You were working, and now you've come full circle. Sounds like we need another TV show.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I can handle that anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, full circle. We got to go full circle. That would be the stamp on it.
The next one, right?
big.
Yeah,
The
there you go.
history from Dunbar to now.
Yeah.
That'd be a
It
good
would be,
I'd pay
it would
money
be a
to
long
watch
one.
Well, so basically, if you had to sum like all these moments up where you've been in all these different places, I mean, you breezed by a couple of things, but you were part of national champion, the Alabama team, right? The first
Yes.
one, yeah, and that was a big feat. That was huge, And
was.
David was there, and all he does is win, win, win. We know that. So I mean,
Right.
he was great to be with. And so, what would you say? If you had to look back on all that. Was there ever a defining moment, a claim to fame, or something where you felt like this major shift happened and you'd like to, share that with people? Because you just mentioned how you wanted to quit several times in high school and you pushed through, and look at you now. Like that was a huge testimony to all these listeners now to don't quit, keep going.
Right. Well, and I think, I wanted to quit because I lost track of my why. I lost track. And I think that's really important for all of us, no matter what we're doing, whether it's,
Right.
just my daily life as a wife or as a mom, or if it's my job as a coach. If you lose track of your why and your purpose, it's really hard to keep going, because then you're focusing on circumstances instead of, that goal. One of my favorite quotes is, "We steer where we stare." And I think if you lose track, right, of where you're staring, it's, you don't know where to steer.
Right.
So good to have that goal. I would say, definitely winning a national title at Alabama was a very special team to me and a very special moment. Things didn't go the way that I wrote my story, at UK my freshman year, and I never expected to go through the transfer process. I never expected to leave Lexington. I didn't even really take a visit to Alabama. I knew David, trusted David. I believed in him and I believed in what he was building. He said, we want to win, and
Yep.
I wanted to win. I wanted to compete. I certainly wanted to do all the other things as well, and, wanted to get my degree and wanted to represent Alabama, but I wanted to compete and I wanted to win. And he said that's what they were going to do there and that I could help. And so I was there. And the first year was tough. The first year was really tough. The first semester. And I tell all of my freshmen, all of my transfers, get through the first semester. I feel like I went through freshman year all over again. It was really hard to find like a close group of friends. I was the outsider. Only 8 girls were on varsity. I was the only girl, the only new girl out of those 8. I remember the first practice, I didn't know the fight song because we didn't do like the traditional fight song at tryouts. The, veterans, the girls who graduated made up one, so I knew the one we made up at tryouts. And I remember David's like, got us signed up and like, do the fight song. And I was like, wait, the tryout one or like and it has all, have you seen the Alabama fight song? Yes. I mean, I was like, what are these motions? I don't know how to spin in a circle and do this. And I was like some like punches and I was just an outsider.
I try to explain to people the difference between, and I laughed about this when we were doing our interview with Krista. People don't understand that, doesn't matter where you are in the country. If you come to the University of Alabama, your high V changes, not just everything else, but you have to do an Alabama high V then too.
That's right. No, it's so true. I mean, even just the motions that I was like, these aren't real motions, and now like, I love that fight song. I did it at my wedding, I love those motions, but I was just like such an outsider. And I think again, just like the don't quit attitude, mindset, I came here for a reason, right? Like I left my family. My parents said, absolutely no way you're transferring. And I was like, not really asking you, just doing it. And so, I was like, I figured it all out. I figured it out. I'm very independent before I met with my parents, right? Like I was like, this is how I'm paying for school. This is where I'm going to live. I'm transferring. This is my major, and my mom was like, nope, you're staying at Kentucky and that's where you're going. And that's the only place you're going. And I was like, well, I'm 18. Yeah. I'm going to do what I want, and right. Like that's an adult, like you're an adult.
At 18, You got
kids. It worked. Come back on you. Don't let.
I know. Well, and thank goodness they're boys, maybe, and they'll be a little more like my sweet husband,
that's true.
And not like me. But yeah, that year was tough, and we got second that year. Replaced lost a good veteran people on our team, and then 2011 came in, and we were just hungry. That team was different. That's the greatest team I've ever been a part of. Had some awesome, great high school teams as well. There's one that specifically sticks out as a high schooler, but that team was just different. We loved each other. We loved to practice. We loved each other outside of practice, and we were a team outside of practice with things that were going on. And that team was just destined to win from the beginning. It wasn't a mindset. It wasn't like something that happened in December. It was something that happened in April with tryouts. And we just knew that was going to be a special year. Actually. Yes. So definitely a defining moment for me and a very, very special team. That 2011 Alabama team, we're all still close and still talk to each other. And that's the greatest team.
Cool.
Yeah.
I remember a Dunbar team that did a whole bunch of toe backs, like back to back, like 3 or 4 of them. Were you on that one? Yeah.
Well, we did triple tucks in our cheer.
Yeah.
So like pick up tucks.
Squad.
And yeah. So yeah, that was something
like,
that Dunbar did in the 90s.
Everybody in the stadium was watching. They did that third tuck. They were like, why? They just did it.
I think Salim kind of had that, that edge. He stood it, just kind of like, if we can do it, why not? Like, here's the exclamation point on top of this. We're going to do it in our cheer and yell.
That was some good teams. So just throwing it out there. She's been on some good teams. And so for that 11 team to make that impact on you, that speaks highly of them and the program that year. So
yes. Great coaches,
so
great leaders.
Going into our next question here, we are looking at influencers these days, and we're looking at an age of social media where, our influencers are all over the place. It's easy to brand yourself. If you were to say, hey, I'm going to back an influencer, what kind of qualities would you say they need to have right now in these days to be looking at colleges and then even Team USA, things like that?
qualities I'm looking for in someone, you're saying, or sorry, I got lost.
Yeah. Qualities in an influencer, or, do you know some good influencers you'd love to give a shout out to right now that you think are doing a good job, and tell us why, so that other people could hear that.
Yeah. Well, I think, social media, right? So different, and it's such a curse and such a blessing. So I think you really have to know what you're putting out there, and also just to what you're taking in, and to know that it isn't always reality, right? It's a highlight reel. I think just anyone that I'm following, or anyone that I would allow to influence me, or to young athletes that are looking to be college cheerleaders, is integrity and consistency. I think those are two really big values for me. Integrity means just dedicating for me, just the same focus and intensity to every area of my life, right? Like whether it's me at home, me at work, me with my friends, like I like to give the same focus to everything that I do, and I don't put one, like I'm not a different person in one than I am. And that's where consistency is key too. I think the biggest compliment I've ever received is that I'm a consistent friend. Whether I'm the best friend or the worst friend, right? I'm consistent. I think what you're gonna, I do. And I take that as, a compliment. And I like
they're friends if they tell you
you're
the worst friend.
Yeah. Then I'll stay consistent, and then you know what you're gonna get. But I think in athletes, I appreciate that as well. I know what we're gonna get from you as a teammate. I like being a consistent teammate too. So I think those things are really important. I don't know that I have anyone specifically that stands out that is someone great, right? Not that there aren't, but just that someone that I would recommend, just because I don't think I spend a lot of time in that. But I do use social media to recruit and to look for people. And I look for people who, are posting those things that seem like they have, like, even like their captions, right? Like, what are they writing? Or if it's a song lyric, I'm kind of like, okay, what kind of like music are they into? Like what type of vibe is this person giving off on social media? And I think people need to understand that coaches are looking at all of that, right? They're not just looking at the story that you've got down there of your cheerleading skills, but we're also looking at like your interactions with your friends, maybe even how you're commenting or how you're speaking about other people, or even just how you speak about yourself. I look at social media for all of those things. But I think, once they come to clinic and once they start following me, I'm all over their social media trying to figure out what type of person they are. Skills are great. You gotta have them at this level, but at the same time, I'd rather have a consistent person with integrity that will work to get the skills that I need.
Well, that's awesome. And if anybody's out there, you need to watch this entire series with all these college coaches, because they are saying the same things.
Across
it's
the board.
Important to have skills, but they want people with integrity. They want people they can depend on. And social media is important. How are you carrying yourself? How are you presenting yourself? All these things. That was great information for them. I mean, if somebody wants to be a part of the Kentucky program, you need to look into it, do your research of what they're looking for, and then make sure that your life is lined up with that, because that's a big part of it in any sport. Thank you for that. Those were kind of our talking points. I think now we are ready to go full out with Daniel and see how we can do. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. I don't try to throw anything too hard at you. So for all of our listeners out there,
what we do is we do a full out section. Your coaches or you as a coach have often told a team, all right, guys, it's time to go full out. And you don't know how many times that you're going to go full out. So it could be that infamous, all right, one more time, but until you hear last time, you don't know if it's coming again. So we're going to do our segment on full out where we throw some topics, and we want 2 minutes and 30 seconds of just these coaches' opinions and exactly what. And Ryan, I'm really excited
about throwing some of these at you, because this is information I want to know, because I've been asked this, or that I want to know this. So
I'm ready.
Our first topic: what does it take to be Wildcat ready? I mean, like Kentucky Wildcat, there's an infamous, just team that for now decades has just ruled the mat. They show up, they show out, and if there's ever a place where a Kentucky team, I think, has felt like they were lacking in 1 year, it's almost like the next year they're triple or even 4 times more than what they were the year before. But what does it take to be a Kentucky Wildcat ready? Go full out.
Confidence with a K. And that's what we say. I think, it's borderline cocky, right? It's borderline like you walk into the room and all eyes on me. And you have to have that every day at practice. It's not something that happens at competition. It's not something that happens on game day. And we stress that from tryouts. We stress that at clinic. I pull them in actually at clinic and say, like, I'm watching you when you are over getting water. I'm watching you when you're interacting with other people at clinic. But you just have to have that confidence when you take the mat. Any time when you get to throw a skill, every rep counts. And I think some programs enforce that and some don't. Some are, okay, well, that was just a warm up, or, okay, I understand it was cold today. I understand you were in your warm ups. Like, I understand. We don't understand. Every rep counts, and it has to, and you have to hold, right. I have to hold them accountable, and they have to hold each other accountable. And I think that's what makes this program different. And that's what keeps this program consistent, is that every rep counts and just being confident. But like I said, confidence.
Adding on to that a little bit, what is it like when there's that line between being too cocky and confident? Because you've got it. Our sport is an entertainment sport in so many ways. It's not just the athleticism. There's an entertainment value there, but you get, especially being I'm an old school UCA guy. Like we carry our ability to outstun each other a little bit more, I think, than some others. Like, what do you do when there's that definition between cocky and confident?
Well, humble and hungry, right? Like that's what you want to stay. You want to stay hungry. You want to make sure that you have that. But then when it's time, to turn it off and it's time to be humbled, it's time to talk to, people outside of that competition mindset a little. I think you've got to stay humbled there. I think that's a really important balance to make sure that you're not crossing that cocky line. I think when you take the mat, it's important to have a little bit of arrogance, to have a little bit of like, hey, you're here to watch me. Hey, you're here to watch my stunt. Like, I think that's important. I think it was something that I had and encourage everyone to have. But once it's over, especially if things didn't go your way, it's really important to stay humble and to remember that you're still representing your university at all times. But definitely humble and hungry. Those two things have to balance each other out.
I like it. And we're going to go off right there. We didn't tell you this ahead of time, but you were actually being timed on 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Like we really are doing it because we're going to move it over. So, hey, look, you're actually our first guest to not get a deduction for going over.
Let's go. I'm like, sorry.
You're already holding up the UK legacy right there. There it is. Moving on to our next full out topic. So, being a part of college cheer the way that you have, I mean, we're talking UK, Alabama, championship program at UAB, going to the SEC at Ole Miss, coming back to UK. You've climbed this ladder. What would you say to athletes but also coaches who are transitioning, moving into a new program? You've done it so many times, and you've done it to these elite championship programs, and you've had to do it with confidence. What advice would you give them? How have you done it, and what advice would you give those other coaches in doing that?
Well, thank you. I've been very blessed, very lucky. I do work hard, and I do make a lot of sacrifices. I think those things happen as an athlete or as a coach. But I do feel like I've also been really, blessed to have the life that I have and to have that opportunity to climb that ladder, like you said. So I would say, again, I focus on integrity and being consistent. I try not to let outside voices affect what I'm doing inside. It's really hard, especially, in this day and age. And I'm human. People hurt my feelings too. But I think at the end of the day, I have to go home. And even when things aren't working, like when you do take over a new program and you want to change things and you want to be different, or make changes there, it's not going to happen immediately. And to remind myself that it's going to take time, to be patient. And again, just to keep staying true to me and what I know to be correct, even if outside voices say that it's not, even if outside voices say that I need to do things differently. I think just staying true and staying consistent. And at the end of the day, if I can go to bed knowing that I did everything in my power to do things the way that I believe they should be done, even if it's not the way that everyone thinks they should be done, then I'm okay. I can rest easy. I think also like learning the programs that you're at is really important. Learning what's important to the administration, to the fan base, to the alumni, because I do think in all three of the programs that I've been at, they're all different. They all have a lot of the same things, like you said, like from Ben and Krista, but there's some differences, and you've got to learn. I definitely learned that even from going from UAB to Ole Miss. Like, I can't just come in and change everything, right? Because there might be a reason. Okay, that didn't make any sense to me why you guys did that. But then I get to the first game and I'm like, ooh, we did this because of that. I shouldn't have been so arrogant that I came in and just wiped clean, right? Like everything that had been in place before. It's important to learn and to grow and not be so insecure or immature that you can't take outside, like take advice or understand, okay, this was a tradition. I should have learned that. Now I can put my spin on it, or now I can change other things.
You hit on two almost opposing but very important things. One is know thyself. Be confident internally enough that you don't let those external forces affect you, but be aware enough on that other end of the spectrum that you choose who you let externally affect you, so that you don't get arrogant, and so that you listen to the right people and you can make those transitions. That's not only like good advice, that's beautiful advice. I love that. That's good.
Thank you.
Good way to explain.
It definitely didn't happen in year 1 or 2. I think just every year you get better, and you have to, right? You have to be willing to grow and have a growth mindset. You can't be so fixed. And like I said, just so like insecure that your way is the only way.
Absolutely. It's an evolution.
From such a championship program and championship things, a lot of the times you feel like you've got it figured out. You've done it before, you've won before. So it was a great, great lesson for us to hear you say, I had to go in and go, hold up, I don't know it all. There's a reason they've been doing this tradition at their school for so long. I can't just come in and change it.
Right.
And constantly keep learning. Very nice. All right, we're gonna keep rolling. And this one I put in here simply for myself, because I'm at a stage when I look. Me and Chase have both. We competed against each other back in the day. We've been in this sport a very long time. So our next full out topic, the one that I'm really excited to ask, because I really want to know this. What impresses you? And I'm talking really more from the physical aspect of you've been a part of these championship programs. You've been on national championship high school teams. You've been on national championship collegiate teams and coached it. What makes Ryan go, wow? Like like you see it and you still get chills because you saw it. Is there something? I want to know.
Okay. That was a good one. So I guess I would say, I don't know, I have pretty high expectations. I have high expectations for myself and for everyone that I coach. Sometimes I get, and this is, getting like deep here, is like, I never got praise from I feel like my parents. So like, I'm not always great at giving praise, because it's like, if I asked you to try this skill, I already expected that you could hit it. Otherwise, I'm like, why would I tell you to like hurt yourself? And then they do it and they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, all right, now let's do it again. And they're like, come on, like I just hit this skill, coach. Like, and I'm like, I know, because I know you and I know that you can. So I wouldn't say like blowing me away, maybe, but I think, being consistent and like executing. I think like when I'm at nationals and I watch teams, that execute, that are like the cleanest, right, teams, or that are like fun to watch. And I think that's what Kentucky does. They're, doing the hardest skills, but also making them look easy and executing. It's not something that, I feel like we did last year, and something that we've really been harping on this year, because that was not the team that, that should have taken the mat last year. We definitely did it better in practice and should have been able to perform it. But I would say, and then I definitely like take note of like creativity. There's definitely some programs that, I love Brian and Nicole, I almost said Wiltsey, but Nichols at West Georgia. And I always think that they are so creative and so innovative. And I love just seeing something new. Like I feel like every West Georgia routine impresses me. Not only because of the cleanliness and the performance, but I feel like they always have something super creative, and I love watching them. But I think I have high expectations, and I don't, unless it's a team, maybe I I'm not used to executing, or maybe doing skills at that level, I'm always like, oh yeah, good job.
Yeah.
And
So what
nothing
really
blows
impresses
me out
you
of the
is if they'll just go to class and get good grades and come
Come
to
on
practice.
now.
That's what would
Now
impress.
you're
Just
talking.
stay-
Now you're talking.
Sometimes I get those midterm reports and I'm like, okay, that's
No,
blowing me
I-
away. And
I
I'll
love it
take
because-
that.
You just
There you go. That's good.
went so hard on that question for me because
Did I?
I get it. It's one of those things where you get to a point and it's like skill wise, crazier skills come out year after year, but your ability to execute and hit those and like someone who hits a really hard skill that I've never seen before, I was like, man, that was awesome. But when
Right.
you can hit it and not move your feet and leave your arm locked out, or that's when I'm going to be impressed. Like
Yeah.
that's what gets me. So that you really did go hard on that. I like it.
It's my bad.
Hey, there we
Look,
go.
I was supposed to be in my office today originally and
Look at this
not have
guy.
either kid, but of course, this is life. Hey, bud.
No,
this
this-
is life with two under.
This is
or
what's
two under
really
three.
this is what's really impressive is
Beautiful
national
baby.
title coach multiple times over and rockin' mom. That says it
I-
all.
I am doing my best, and honestly, I try to. I mean, it's not always pretty, but I try to really take that role seriously, like you just said, because I am the first female and also the first female married with children coach at Kentucky, and so I do not take that lightly, and try to set a good example. I think that's definitely a big motivation for me too. So thank you for
Absolutely.
noticing that and saying. The coolest thing my boss said to me was when I got pregnant, because I was like kind of not, it was like a couple months into this job at Kentucky, hadn't even bought a house yet. And and I'm still living with my parents in the basement. And so she said, way to show them you can do it all. That's what she said. And I was like, yes, ma'am, I will. Thank you. I needed some girl on girl encouragement today. So I appreciate that, because I was
There you go.
definitely
There you go.
fearful of what were you thinking? You just took this job. It's COVID. Don't you have enough on your plate? Because I got that from maybe other people. And she was
Right.
like, way to show them you can do it all.
Hey. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That was Ryan Martin O'Connor. Legendary. If you've been under a rock for a while, you don't know who she is. Now you know. Check all of our series out. We appreciate it at The Cheer Guys. Thank you to our sponsors once again. Daniel, take it over and close us out.
That's right, guys.
If you can, everyone, our sponsors, Playmaker, that's Playmaker with 2 A's, or Coachable, that's the coachable-app.com. You can go on there and search for coaches in over 78 different sports and actually be looking for things that they can teach you. Coaches, it's an app for you to get on if you would like to put your knowledge out there so that you can earn some money and find a little side hustle and analyzing videos in your sports. Check it out. It's some awesome stuff. You guys need to take a look at it. This has been The Cheer Guys. Thank you guys for being with us, and we'll see y'all next time.